Salutations, students. Automatic here for Automatic Games. Thanks for joining me for this, a video dedicated to the fundamentals of commanding a ship in our Battlestar Galactica Deadlock roleplay. You know, there may be some of you out there that have an interest in joining our streams and our roleplays, but you just don't know where to begin. Well, I would highly recommend beginning with this particular video. It is designed for and dedicated to you.
3, 2, 1.
This is a Manticore-class Corvette, and we have a video dedicated to this style of ship. But of course, this video is going to cover the fundamentals. This particular Corvette is called the Elkhorn. Now, there is a very good reason why I want to discuss maneuverability and functions using the Manticore, and that is because, as a new commander, this is most likely the ship that you will be taking command of first. This because it is our most affordable ship, but this no way indicates that it is cannon fodder or a weak ship. It is very good at doing what it was designed to do. It is a fast strike vessel. But anyways, as noted, we have a video dedicated to this class. Here, we're going to cover the basics. Let's start with maneuverability. Now, the ship in the center of your screen is the Manticore's current location. The green doppelganger at the top of your screen, well, that is its destination. So that can be altered. Right now it's at full ahead. Thrusters are on. It could go half ahead or slow ahead. It can go 10 degrees to port, 20 degrees, 45 degrees. And if thrusters were not on, it could go. It could pull off a 90-degree turn. The same, of course, can be said for your starboard side: 10, 20, 45. Now, these ships cannot come to a full stop, nor can they go in reverse. They can also change elevation, of course. Again, the thrusters are on, and that restricts maneuverability somewhat. You can climb or dive. But yeah, this can be altered, as I said, if we shut off the thrusters. So let's go ahead and do that. And of course, then you won't be traveling as far in any given turn, but you'll be able to make sharper turns. So there we go. Thrusters are now deactivated. So yeah, our distance is impacted by that. But as you can see, you can climb a lot higher. And of course, you can dive a lot lower. For now, we're going to keep her straight ahead. Now, the next area that I want to discuss is your posture. You are typically on a neutral posture, and that keeps all of your subsystems running at full power. But you can boost these subsystems, or you can detract from them by going into offensive posture or defensive posture. So here's defensive. Now, by doing so, all of our defensive-oriented subsystems are buffed, but our navigation is diminished by this, and so too is fire control, which are inherently offensive subsystems. But yeah, the three defensive subsystems are all bolstered by going into defensive posture. The opposite could be said for the offensive posture, but it really doesn't boost anything but fire control. Your navigation is still hindered despite being an offensive subsystem, and your CIC, which is your bridge, your command center, it's not impacted by either offensive or defensive postures. Now, of course, we should discuss these subsystems in greater detail. So, with no further ado, let's go ahead and get to that. Let's switch back to a neutral posture first. Another important aspect to keep in mind is a neutral posture grants you the most maneuverability. And that, of course, is a side effect of navigation being stifled by both offensive and defensive posture. So let's look at our subsystems. The first, in terms of offensive subsystems, is your CIC, your bridge, your command center. It governs your posture effect, the extent at which you can go defensive or offensive. It's deeply embedded within the ship, so it cannot be targeted by conventional weapons or munitions. The only way for enemies to get to your CIC is to land boarding parties aboard your ship, in which case they would have to fight through your Marines to get to your command center. If they were able to take over your command center, well, then your ship is compromised and, of course, taken out of the fight. And frankly, as a captain, you'd either be incarcerated or dead, I would assume. So yeah, the CIC, it's basically where your captain is stationed. Next up is navigation. Navigation is usually located in the rear of the ship, so if the rear takes too much damage, that damage is going to start translating to your navigation subsystem. It deals with your pitch, your yaw, and your max distance. If navigation systems are damaged, those will all be compromised to some extent. If navigation is taken offline, then you will have no control over your ship, unless, of course, repairs are affected. But, yeah, navigation is considered an offensive subsystem, although going offensive or defensive hinders navigation. So, again, being at a neutral posture is the best thing to maintain a good level of mobility. So next up is fire control, the most blatantly obvious offensive subsystem. Fire control has to do with your turret's range and accuracy and your munition salvo size. Many ships have a slot for munitions, ranging from guided missiles, torpedoes, all the way up to tactical nukes. Now, you can fire salvos of munitions, but if fire control is damaged, let's say with guided missiles you can fire salvos of 4, well, you might be limited to firing only 3, 2, 1. If fire control is offline, you will not be firing any munitions. In fact, you won't be firing turrets either, until, of course, you effect some repairs. It is located in the front of your ship, but that's not always the case. That location may vary from ship class to ship class, but in terms of the Manticore, it's up front. Now let's talk defensive subsystems, starting with engineering. Now, engineering, it governs repairs. It governs your damage modifier, like how much damage you take. Of course, subsystem repair and squadron repair. Now, the Manticore does not house a fighter squadron or a Raptor squadron, but for ships that do, and they go out there and they get damaged, well, you can recall those squadrons, and they will be refitted, repaired, and in some cases replenished. That is to say, you lost some fighters, well, new ones will be added to your ranks. Next is armory. Now, your armory pretty much covers your Marine detachment, your Marine armor, and their overall strength. The Marines are the only things standing between boarding parties and your CIC. So that's where the armory comes into play. Any damage to the armory obviously hinders the Marines. On this ship, the armory is located on both the starboard and port sides. Now, the armory only affects boarding parties, so if you have no fear of a boarding party, that is to say there's no heavy raiders on the map approaching your ships, then I would say if your armory and another subsystem are damaged, repair that other subsystem first, as your armory pretty much won't matter in the fight at hand. But don't always bank on that, because you never know when a raiding party, a boarding party, will be inbound. So that kind of, I think that covers the armory for the most part. Let's turn to the tech bay. And the tech bay, it covers your DRADIS range, that is to say your sensors, and your firewall regeneration. You see, they don't need to use munitions or conventional weapons to damage these subsystems. Cylons can attempt to hack, bypassing your armor plating and attacking your subsystems directly. The only thing between that hack and shutting down your subsystems is, of course, your firewall, which by default will slow their hack speed. Well, if your tech bay is damaged, your firewall will be compromised to some extent, and their hack will be all the more potent. Of course, a defensive posture will boost, engineering, armory, and the tech bay, making your firewall all the more strong. So, that's something to always keep in mind, that defensive posture will boost the defensive subsystems. Now, let's talk about your weapons. Of course, we can only really discuss the weapons aboard this particular class of vessel, but I think it's important that we do so, as some of these are just general. The munitions. Not all ships will have munitions. Usually a Manticore has guided missiles, 20 of them, of which it can fire salvos of 4, but the Elkhorn is currently armed with a tactical nuke, and it is because it's about to engage in a very important mission in which it's going to need that nuke. So let's discuss turrets. Now with turrets, you can see the range, the firing range here, and the arc. For this ship, it's fore and aft of the ship. For a lot of ships, their broadside cannons are what you're commonly going to see, but that's not the case for the Manticore. If an enemy ship is beyond this range, then you can focus fire. Now, focus fire will prioritize an enemy ship of your choosing. It will also increase your rate of fire and your range beyond the range that you're seeing demonstrated on your screen right now. So, focus fire is a common command issued by our ship captains, and it's one that serves us well. Now, just because you're prioritizing an enemy vessel doesn't mean that your ship won't fire at other vessels. It's just, as is kind of implied by the word prioritize, it just prioritizes that specific target. Now, over on the left, you can see the weapons aboard this ship, a forward-facing corvette cannon and slightly weaker light cannons in the rear. And you can determine what it targets. At this juncture, it's told to target capitals. We're going to switch that to closest. But yeah, you get a general idea there, and you can see the weapon's strength and all of that good stuff. So next, I kind of want to talk about that cheat sheet on the right-hand side of your screen. This sheet tells you everything you need to know, with the exception of what vessel you're using focus fire on. Otherwise, it really is a one-stop shop for everything you need to know in terms of your ship's status. You've got your plating armor listed at the top. Left, right, front, rear, top, bottom. And as you can see, that varies. And that varies from ship to ship. Below that, you see your hull. If enemies fire through any of those plated sides, they'll start eating into your overall hull. And of course, once your hull integrity is completely compromised, your ship breaks apart, and you are dead. Just below the hull, you see whether or not your thrusters are being boosted. And below that, you see a readout of your subsystems. All of them are at full strength here, but of course, that could change and might very well change when engaged in a battle. At the bottom, for instance, you can see our munitions there. You'll also be able to see squadrons. In terms of our munitions, what you see is the nuke. We have 1 out of 1. If we had guided missiles down there, it would say 20 out of 20, and would keep a count of that. Also, on the indicator, you would see how many rounds it will take to reload. Now here we can perform a 90-degree turn to the port. And we're going to do that. We're going to maintain our elevation. So yeah, down there it'll also list the squadrons. How many ships are in a squadron? And so yeah, you want to keep an eye on that as well. Oh, I forgot to mention, it also shows your posture there between hull and boost thrusters, about dead center in that sheet. Okay, we are again going to make a 90-degree turn to port. Basically, we went... Oh, I forgot to mention this. Yeah. You see how this ship is listing to the left? There's been some talk by ship captains and viewers about how these ships can't roll, and they can't. But about as much as you can achieve is throughout a turn your ship lists, and this does have an effect on your weapon's trajectory. So our forward gun is on the bottom of our ship. It's going to have a better trajectory at any targets off to the starboard or right side. If it was trying to shoot at a target to our left, well, one would hope that that target is far below us, considering our left side is currently dipping down. Now, some commanders that I've watched on YouTube use this to their benefit. We don't use it often enough, but even veteran commanders can learn from that listing aspect. So here's our 90-degree turn. We are also going to elevate. We're going to climb to our fullest extent. Essentially, what we've been doing in this round and the last is coming about in a very slow manner. We could come about in a very tight turn, but I kind of want to demonstrate for you how we issue these move orders.
Centurions have boarded one of our ships.
As you can hear in the background from the chatter, there is a battle underway, and the Elkhorn is playing an important role in terms of our attack forces. Our target is an enemy space station. In fact, it used to be ours. That is Perseus Station. It has been taken over by the Cylons, and we need to take it out. We're going to make a 10-degree turn to port, because we want to rendezvous with some small craft that are on the other side of that space rock. So here we go with that 10-degree turn to port. Once we rendezvous with them, we're going to move on that space station. But as noted earlier, we have forces already engaged in this sector. However, the Cylon fleet is quite intimidating. Let's see, we could go full ahead. Yep, we're going to maintain our heading. Actually, we'll go slightly, maybe about 5 degrees to starboard. Again, you don't want to use slightly. I guess we're going to drop in elevation, but just barely. But yeah, I try to stay away from saying words like slightly and barely. You want to talk in terms of degrees. By doing so, you are relaying clearer orders to the host of the game than you would be doing otherwise, using words like slightly or a tad. Now, sometimes you don't really have to talk in degrees. Like in this case, I guess the captain could say, you know what, I want to hug that rock to our left, and I kind of want to turn left, and we're going to do so at half speed. But you know what? Maybe not this turn. Maybe we'll just go straight ahead this turn, half speed. Which brings up another fair point, that an unspoken rule that I just kind of broke. As the captain of the Elkhorn just talked about what he will be doing next turn. We want to stay away from talking about what we'll be doing next turn unless you're talking about the overall tactical plan. Otherwise, just save it until the next turn. After all, when it's your turn, other captains are waiting for you to conclude. So here we go, hugging this space rock to our left and turning port side. A little closer. There we go. So about a 90-degree turn to the left. The captain would probably say, if possible, because there's always a little bit of lag on YouTube. So here we go. We're maintaining elevation here. And there up at the top of this screen, you can see the squadrons in question that we want to link up with. There are 2 of them. One is a Raptor squadron, a pair of Raptors. And they are going to fly defense on the Elkhorn. So too is Red Squadron, a Viper squadron. They will be flying defense on the Elkhorn as well, as the Elkhorn makes its approach toward Perseus Station. So now let's see. Let's move slow ahead. Well, we're going to be good with that, I think. Yep. For this turn, it's just going to be slow ahead. maintaining elevation and heading. And what's the difference between course and heading? Course is kind of like your final destination. You can order your ship on an intercept course. Damn, there's an explosion over there at the battle, and that is one of our ships. Is that the Estania? Yep, the Estania has been destroyed. And we expected losses because we're fighting overwhelming odds. So we're turning 90 degrees to starboard here. We are also going to go ahead and alter our elevation. We'll be diving to our fullest extent. But before I noticed one of our ships being destroyed in that distant combat, I started to talk about kind of bypassing directional orders in terms of degrees. And what I meant by that is you could order your ship on an intercept course. So that is exactly what the captain of the Elkhorn is going to do. He's ordering his ship on an intercept course toward that space station. He still wants to alter elevation. He's going to continue his dive. So he's going to leave the heading to his crew, or in reality's sake, to the host, but he is still going to be advising in terms of elevation. So yeah, the difference between course and heading. Course, we've set an intercept course, our target being that enemy space station. Your heading is the direction that you're wanting to face immediately. So for instance, course is going to be, I don't know, New York to Richmond, right? But your heading is going to be which direction you're facing at the time. So, you're going to be turning about, especially if you go through West Virginia. But I guess if you were going New York to Richmond, you probably wouldn't be going through West Virginia. I would argue that you'd be lost. But just so you get a grasp of what I'm trying to explain to you, we're going to talk in more terms of heading than course, unless, of course, well, that sounds redundant, unless, of course, you have set an intercept course. Let's talk tactics for this battle. Our main fleet was trying to lure away the Cylon fleet from the space station. As they do so, the captain of the Elkhorn is supposed to charge up toward that space station and unleash his nuke and destroy the space station. But damn, we just lost another carrier. As such, the captain is a little concerned. If our fleet is completely destroyed, then the Cylons will come about and attack us. So he's ordering full ahead, maintain an intercept course, elevation's fine. And if you don't want to talk in terms of starboard or port, then don't. Say right and left. That's fine with me. I think a lot of people glance at this game and they think, well, it's a little too detailed for my comfort. It would almost inject a little hesitation. Meanwhile, our captain is going to lower elevation, dive to the fullest extent. Otherwise, we're going to maintain our heading, and of course maintain our course toward Perseus Station. And I'm keeping an eye on that battle in the background. I can already see that an enemy ship has indeed come about. Perhaps two of them have. Because they have... Basically, the jig is up. They have noticed the Elkhorn. And it's kind of like they're pulling up their pants right now. They're coming about to say, whoa, we left a wide open door, a wide open avenue of approach toward our station. They can't have that, right? So they're coming back. And what you heard just there was a missile warning, but that wasn't for us. Unfortunately, that was for our final carrier. The fleet has been destroyed. The situation is desperate. The Elkhorn has all eyes on it. Now, all eyes that are still alive anyhow. Naval Command is certainly looking at them, and we do have another Manticore-class corvette in this AO, but it's nowhere near the fight. In fact, it was there to cover our withdrawal, but as you can see, our main fleet will not be withdrawing. Okay. Now, do we want to fire the nuke yet? The only hesitation is we're so far out, enemy raiders could intercept, but you know what? Again, the situation is desperate. We are firing the nuke, and we're going to turn to port 90 degrees. And we'll switch elevation. We'll go ahead and climb. We're climbing because our forward gun is on the bottom. So we, being in charge of a Manticore corvette, you kind of want to keep a high elevation if you're going to move towards enemies from the front. So here goes. Fire nuke. We already have enemies coming at us from our stern, aft of our ship. And again, you don't have to use those terms. You just say behind our ship. Where I said that this game can look intimidating, it doesn't have to be, by any stretch of the imagination. Again, we're turning 90 degrees to port. We're going to come completely about and face our incoming enemies. Standing by for impact. Damn. We've got multiple Raider squadrons closing in on intercept courses. The space station is still intact. Alright. The captain of the Elkhorn has a serious problem now. Naval intelligence told him that nuke would compromise the station, and it didn't. The Elkhorn is going to turn 90 degrees to port. They'll dive to the fullest extent. And we're going into defensive posture for sure, because we are about to take some serious fire. It doesn't take a genius to realize that the Elkhorn, a Manticore-class corvette, is not long for this world. Now, we're ordering our Raptors to go ahead and dock with the Elkhorn. This will boost our firewall, but we do have ulterior motives in ordering them to dock. Motives that have more to do with the story and less to do with game mechanics, I might add. But, yeah, here we go. Meanwhile, Red Squadron is engaging those enemy raiders. And raiders are just what the Cylons classify their fighters as. Now, we have a Nemesis-class corvette well within range. The fear is that they will initiate a hack. They tend to do that. But of course, we have a Raptor. I hope I called it a Raptor earlier and not Raider. Sometimes I swap those two terms out, but it would kind of suck to do that in an instructional video, wouldn't it? We are turning 90 degrees to port. And yeah, we are on an intercept course with that station. Our intent, of course,
Yes, Commander.
is to fire at the station, but boy, I just don't know if our guns are capable of taking it down. In the meantime, we have focused fire on that Nemesis. And again, focus fire increases your range and your rate of fire. But now that we've made that 90-degree turn, I don't know. Alright, slightly lowering elevation. Again, hate to say slightly, I guess to the fullest extent is what the actual order is. Or not to the fullest extent. Apologies. Our thrusters are not on. Basically diving as if we have thrusters on. Well, hell. The Elkhorn has been boarded by Centurions. There is fighting throughout the ship. The situation is bad. That Nemesis is hacking. And they're trying to hack our fire control, which means our guns will not be online for long. Our armor plating is being torn apart, especially in the rear and the starboard side, the right side. We are still on an intercept course with the enemy space station. I don't know, folks. The captain of the Elkhorn is, well, he's having an epiphany. Full ahead. Full ahead. Ramming speed. I would dissuade any commander from doing that, but obviously in this situation there isn't much else we can do. Our turrets just aren't strong enough. I'll tell you what, we're evacuating. Now this isn't me. I mean, this Manticore, even if it has a skeleton crew, it's still got too many people for 2 Raptors to take off with. But some personnel will get aboard those Raptors, and they're out of here. They can go. Meanwhile, the officers will stay aboard for this final charge. If we make it, they could take us out before we get there. I pray that they do not. Wow, we're getting another turn. The good news is our navigation systems, they're still good. I mean, they are damaged slightly, but we're not going to need much to go this last extra step. Our Raptors are away with the evacuees. And our captain gives one more statement. Gods save the colonies. So say we all, Captain. So say we all. Well, that did it. Ramming does a lot of damage. Of course, your ship is not going to survive it. That's why we would dissuade you from doing so. But there you have it. I would imagine the Cylons didn't calculate that outcome. Our Raptors are clear of the fighting. I can't imagine any of those large ships catching up with the Raptors. However, Raiders could absolutely catch up, and I'm sure they're already on an intercept course. As for our Raptors, they're basically setting course to that last Manticore corvette in this AO. They'll board it. There it is, the Garrod. They'll board it and get the hell out of here. So there you go, folks. I hope you kind of learned something in terms of commanding your ship, maneuvering your ship. There's the evolution of a Cylon from a toaster to a hot chick. Interesting, right? But yeah, I do hope you've taken away something from this video. I hope it helps. If it did not, then I apologize for wasting your time. I'm not going to do the replay, essentially because this is a 33-minute video, which is pretty long for my Fleet Academy videos. I wanted to get all the information in and then let you see it in play. So, you know what? I'll do you one better than just foregoing the replay. At the end of this video, there will be a link, so follow that link if you want to see the replay of this battle. I guess by doing so, you'll be able to see if that Raptor gets out of there intact or not. Anyways, folks, this is Automatic for Automatic Games. I appreciate you watching. If you like this, and if you are subscribed, I will talk to you soon, friends.